Hello, everybody, and welcome to Let Them Play. I'm your host, Tony Fiorino, and it is Sunday, January 30th, and guess what? We got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. You dig it? That's right. My Pittsburgh Steelers backed up all my talk from last week, and they threw a beatdown on the New York Jets to earn their unprecedented 8th trip to the Super Bowl, and I could not be any happier. My wife Mima, on the other hand, is getting a little tired of me wearing my Steelers garb for the YouTube videos instead of a nice blazer. Hey, by the way, those of you who are unaware, you can now watch previous episodes and editions of Let Them Play on YouTube. Just search for Coach Tony Radio on YouTube, and when you click on one of the shows, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss anything. Now, as for my lovely wife, sweetheart, you're just going to have to deal with my Steelers stuff for a few more weeks, and then I promise Blazers from now on, so stop busting my chops. Besides, she's a Jets fan, so why the hell should I listen to her anyway? And really, it took her 2 days, and TJ's here, he can die. It took her 2 days to speak to me after the Steelers-Jets game, after that shellacking that the Jets took. I mean, typical Jets fan. Well, listen, as much as I would love to continue talking about the Jets-Steelers game, there are just too many important things going on in kids' sports this week. So today I want to address a big one. One of the, for lack of a better term, necessary evils in youth sports is that most youth league coaches, and by a vast majority, are parents. But the interesting thing about this is that while most coaches are parents, that's a fact, most parents are not coaches. Seems kind of simple, right? But nobody really ever talks about that. Think about it. What an interesting dynamic. This is one of the major reasons for friction between parents and coaches, and no one ever really talks about it. Well, that's all going to change this morning because I'm going to be taking your calls throughout the show at 914-693-5700. And I've been promised that the phones are working today, so we should have no problems. But just in case, we will certainly have our ability to take your emails at heycoachtony@gmail.com. We want to get your opinions on some of the unique scenarios as well as the pluses and minuses of coaching your own child. I also want to hear from you parents about some of the challenges posed by having your kid play on a team where the coach's kid is on that roster. Again, there are plenty of moving parts in this equation, and I want to know what you think. And later on in the show, and I'm hoping we have some time to get to this, I want to get to the story about Robert Burton. Now, if you've been watching any sports news at all this week, you know who Robert Burton is. He is the wealthy individual who's been a donor to the University of Connecticut, or at least until very recently. Turns out UConn had the audacity to hire a new football coach without Robert Burton's permission. And so Burton is now crying and demanding more than $3 million in previous donations back, and is demanding that they take his name off the football facility. Whole lot of controversy around this one, and if we have time, I'm going to take your calls on that one as well. But I really want to get into this whole issue around coaching your own kid, because as I was online researching this week, as I always do, I came across a terrific blog that I love. I'm a baseball guy, and there's a blog that's called checkswing.com. And Kyle, I'm not going to use his last name because I'm not supposed to do this, but the guy who runs the blog has some great thoughts, and he started posing the question about, hey, what's it like to coach your own kid? And while Kyle has a very, very busy schedule, I asked him to try to call in this morning, and I believe we have Kyle on the line with us, and it sounds like the phones are working at him. Hey, Kyle, good morning, man. You're on Let Them Play. How we doing?
Good morning. How you doing? I'm doing great.
All right. Well, listen, before we get into some of your thoughts, Kyle, I do want to give you a chance to plug the blog. I mentioned it's checkswing.com. Give us a quick 30 seconds on what the blog is and what it's all about, and then give me some of your ideas on this whole dynamic of coaching your own kid.
Sure. Well, checkswing.com is actually a baseball social network with thousands of members, and the members are coaches, players, in some cases parents, umpires, scouts, anybody who do with playing baseball, mostly, but not just fans, but on the field. And it's a great place where people can share discussions about this topic as well as on-field, going over hitting mechanics, sharing video, sharing photos, that type of stuff. And the great thing about it is you can have players who are playing in advanced leagues, whether it be minors or major league, helping younger players, move up through the system as well.
And there's a ton of value in that. It is by far the most comprehensive, and I think you nailed it. It's not just a blog. This is a baseball social network, and I got to tell you, I love what you do, and I tell you, all your members, they love to write. They don't like to call as much. So yeah. I know there were some very cool topics in and around this whole thing of parents and coaching, but give me some of your initial thoughts.
Well, my initial reasons for posting the blog, and again, as you're probably aware, when you post something, people can give you their take on it, and it might even lead in a different direction than you initially suggested. But my initial reason for posting was I coach my own two kids, and sometimes, and I am a coach as well, so I do know the game very well. I'm a player, I'm a coach, so I can teach them the game, so there's no issue there. The problem I sometimes encounter is that with my kids, they'll tend to, and I treat them just like anybody else on the team, they'll tend to look over and they have trouble separating that whole dad role from the coach role when we're on the field. So if I give criticism to them, or tell them, this is how, not so much criticism, but feedback, and say, listen, this is how you might want to approach that next time, they take that more as dad saying he's disappointed in them versus coach is just trying to help me. Whereas most of the other kids, the feedback I get is coach is just trying to help me. So it's hard my initial reason for posting was trying to figure out how do you get kids to separate that and understand that, hey, when we're on the field, I'm not disappointed in you, and I never am. I just want you to, I'm trying to teach you the game just like I am the rest of the players.
You know what, Kyle, I think you kind of nailed one of the key components of this, because I have people ask me all the time, how do you separate the relationship of dad and coach or mom and coach? And there are people who try to do it different ways, different times. Guess what? You're never going to do that. You will never separate the role of dad from the role of coach or the role of mom from the role of coach. The best you can hope for is to take an angle, and with each kid it's different, but I think you said something very interesting, which is to make sure that as best you can, your kid knows that you're not criticizing them. And it's always going to come across that way, but you know what? The more you drive home that part and not try to say, hey, when I'm on the field, I'm coach. You know what? Your kids don't get it, and you know why they don't get it? Because it's really stupid. You will always be coach first, and if you really question it, watch a real youth game like embryo soccer or 8-year-old t-ball or flag football. Your kid, show me a kid who's crying on the field, and I'll bet that's a coach's kid. Because you know what? It's easy to cry to mom or dad. It's a lot harder to cry to coach. And no matter what happens, you are coach first and you are dad second. I think what I think you're kind of alluding to is you seem to be embracing that, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I've always done the same thing. I've embraced the fact that yep, I'm dad and it's okay, but I still have to be your coach. And I think they kind of get that, and it's a really healthy way to approach this. So I know you have a busy morning, and by all means, I want you to go enjoy your family. I know you don't get enough of that during the week like the rest of us. But again, for those of you who are listening in, if you even remotely enjoy baseball or have a kid that plays, you have to go check out Kyle's blog. It is www.checkswing.com. Kyle, anything to add before we let you go this morning?
Just a quick thing. One of the things that I do myself with my kids and my coaches is that I've been trying to do more lately is having my assistant coach actually give the feedback to my child and vice versa, and I'll do the same thing with them. And it seems to work out pretty well doing that. So
it's a great strategy. There are times when it may be a given day. I'm not getting through to my kid, or my kid is just having one of those days where no matter what I say as dad, I'm wrong. And so you know what, Mr. Smith, hey Bobby, do me a favor, go tell TJ what he's doing wrong, because he's just not going to listen to me today. And it's a subtlety, and it's something that you really got to pay attention to. Kyle, as always, it's a great treat having you with us, and next time I hope you have a little more time to spend with us. But again, folks, it's www.checkswing.com. Kyle does a terrific job, and again, thanks for the call. Hey, folks, here's what's going on. I'm going to have to we got some calls coming in, but we got to go to break. But before we do, I'll tell you what, just last night, if you're looking for a cool place to hang out, you got to get over to Somers 202 Tavern on Old Tomahawk Street, which is basically 202 in Somers / Yorktown Heights. My buddy Joe last night they were doing an 80s disco party, and my wife dragged me there, and it was a hoot. Joe and his staff have great food, great atmosphere, TVs all over the place, and in fact, they've got a Super Bowl party that they're hosting, which is going to be the Super Bowl event for Westchester County. I think it's something like $49 a head, and you get all you can eat filet mignon, lobster tails, and I think beer and wine all you can drink. Now, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but hey, Joe, if you're listening, I'm probably going to be there because, I like to sit in a cave when the Steelers are playing. But if I show up, dude, you are losing money on that deal. I can eat $49 worth of filet mignon in about 2 minutes, much less the beer and the wine. So, hey, listen, you got to get over to Somers 202. Phone number is 248-8100, and be sure to look them up on the web at somers202.com. Stick around, folks. We'll be right back.